much for joining us today. And I want to thank our guest. I have Mr. Kevin Jackson with us. And he is a really, really interesting guy, grew up in Calvert County. And we're going to talk to him about his activism and his advocacy. I think that's something we can all really admire about him. So Kevin, hello. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. I'm happy to be here. So I'm just blessed to be here.
Amazing. Yeah. So you grew up in Calvert County, but you're not in Calvert County now, right? Is that the case?
Yeah. So I grew up in Calvert County. Went to all the Calvert County public schools, K through 12. Right now, I'm studying electrical engineering at Temple University. So right now, I'm currently in Philadelphia. I start grad school next Monday or this Monday. So right now, I'm in Philadelphia. So.
Nice. Okay. So small town to big city. That's awesome. Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about, so we understand that you recently threw a celebration in Prince Frederick over the summer. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I organized a Juneteenth rally in Calvert for the Juneteenth holiday. And basically it was a rally to get the community to come together and to come together celebrate a great holiday. So I was hoping for the event to be very educational, while also giving the community a chance to come together and just to come together amid all the issues that have been going on in our community. So it was a great time. We had about 200 people there, and we got some great speakers from around the county and the state. And so it was a very great and eventful event. So I was happy with the turnout.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Was it difficult to organize something, or like how were you inspired to do that?
Yeah, so my inspiration really came from seeing all the different protests and things like that back in Philly, and seeing how fast people could organize in such a small period of time in a big city. And so I went to a lot of different demonstrations in Philadelphia, and I really wanted to do something back home for Juneteenth. And so I guess it was 9 days before the Juneteenth where I had kind of had the plan to actually pursue doing the Juneteenth rally. And yeah, it was difficult at times because there's a lot of things it was a lot of firsts for me, organizing an event, organizing a public event, organizing an event in the pandemic. So there was a lot of firsts, that I just never really tackled before. And then a lot of people I've never tackled before. And so with that being said, it was great to see how many people and how much help I can get from others in the community to help make the event a success. So we had a lot of setbacks early on, but as you can see, we eventually overcame those and just moved indifferently and ended up having a great event. So it was great. It was definitely a learning experience, and I would love to do something like that again.
So amazing. So has activism always been close to your heart? Or is it something that's kind of come on recently? Like, I'd love to hear about, the roots of it. Like,
yeah, that's a great question. So for me, activism, I've always been, I guess you could say, socially conscious, but as a vein of activist, I would say that's something that I've been starting participating in within the past year or two. So growing up, I was very quiet. I'm still kind of quiet, but I feel like I didn't really never found my voice growing up. And so coming to Temple and coming to a city, you just see a lot of things and a lot of issues are up front, that you can't ignore them. And so I think just being in an environment and meeting so many different people, and learning from different people's experiences really kind of gave me the background and education to start my activism. And then of course the George Floyd situation, and that's really what fueled my interest for getting more involved in actually fighting and organizing different events to fight against racism, to fight against homophobia, to fight for everybody's civil rights, And so, yeah, honestly, just the community really in itself has inspired me to become an activist.
Gotcha. And I know we mentioned a little earlier, like started in a small town, went to the big city. It's really interesting to hear the big city. It's interesting to hear, that seeing the differences there has inspired you. What do you think, like, how does activism vary, like in a small town, like in Calvert County versus, like in Philadelphia, where there's, maybe more people around, like easier to organize. Could you just speak to that a little bit?
Of course, of course. So there is a big difference, and it's a noticeable difference. There's the bonuses to both living in a big city and living in a small town. The biggest thing that I did notice in a small town was that when you do have these types of events, they're not common, and so when you do have them, it kind of makes more of a noise to the overall community. Now, when you do these things in big cities, there's different demonstration and events happening weekly, daily.
Sure.
Even when a pandemic or these situations hasn't happened or been at the upfront of people's minds. And so in that perspective, things like this happen all the time. And so there's always people organizing things like that in the city. But also you just have a larger population pool when you are in a city. So you are more likely to find more people who align with the way you view, or you are more likely to find more activists. And so from that perspective, it's easier to find people to work with. But working with people at home, what I found was there are a lot of people out there who do want to put in the work. It's just sometimes we're all spread apart. And so it seems like they're not out there, but they are. And so I was really pleased and excited to see that all those people in my county when I was working with them. So
you pulled through. Yeah. Do you have any advice, for young people, who are in Calvert County? What are some tips or ideas, that you have for them to find their voice and get involved?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is to educate yourself, right? Educate yourself on the issues that really I guess resonate with you, so that you have that perspective, right? So you can get that foundation on pursuing activism. The next step is just involvement. You can be an advocate at any level, whether that's at your school, whether your job, whether it's in politics. You can be an advocate at every level. There's issues going on everywhere, which is good because you can get involved, right? Of course, we don't want the issues, but it's a chance and the opportunity for everyone. And so when you look at that from that perspective, you just have to understand that your voice matters, right? Your perspective matters. And so when you look at that, you can make anything happen. You can organize within any type of group that you're in. And so I would say just get involved, especially with our youth. I mean, get involved with student government. That's the biggest thing you can do. Encouraging parents to get involved with the Parent-Teacher Association, right? Have them advocate for things that you guys see are wrong at the schools. But yeah, just get involved at a local level. And I think you really start to see your starting activism come true. So
yeah, so just don't be scared, dive right in,
yeah.
find something.
yeah. So
so that actually is a really great bridge. For this book club that we're doing, we're reading March, right, which is about John Lewis, who is, really instrumental, civil rights figure. And I have a quote from him here. It's, "Ordinary people with extraordinary vision can redeem the soul of America by getting in what I call good trouble, necessary trouble." And so he talks about ordinary people. What ordinary people, have you had in your life that have inspired you or do inspire you, or?
Yeah, I think the biggest ordinary people, of course, are my parents. My parents were they were teachers and educators inside the Calvert County public school system. And so just seeing how they advocated for different things inside of the school system showed me that no matter where I can be an advocate for anything that I want to see change. And for them, those are my two ordinary people that I follow the most, because I can just see it up front every day, right? They don't have to hold signs out, or they don't have to have a microphone to make their voice be heard. So I think that's something that everybody thinks that they have to do to be an activist or be an advocate. And so just seeing that, and it just encouraged me to let me know that wherever I go, I can make change. I can create change no matter what. So those are my ordinary people.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. That's a really great answer. Yeah, and just, using your sphere of influence, right? In your family, in your friend group, that sort of thing. So Sounds like, you're very busy. You talked about going to school, like in the city, being involved in demonstrations. How do you balance, or like what advice would you have for young people about balancing, like activism just with your everyday life things?
Yes, that's a really good question, especially since I'm about to start school on Monday, so I'm about to change my schedule up a little bit. But the biggest thing is just scheduling and kind of prioritizing and kind of understanding what goals you have for yourself. For me, I have a lot of goals, right? I want to be educated. I want to see some social issues changed. Um, I want to work on some personal stuff. I'm building my stuff and building my character. So I have to be intentional with that in the way I schedule my time, right? And during the summer, I didn't have school, so I could allocate more time to different social justice issues or advocating and being and educating myself on more things to be an activist. Well, now I'm not gonna have that time, so I'm gonna have to schedule more time to educate myself for my degree and making sure I'm doing my stuff for the books. But that does, I also know that there's going to be time that I can allocate for getting involved with organizations, for reading up on different social issues that I'm interested in. And so I really think it's just managing your time and also understanding that you can't do everything, right? You have to say no. You have to have time to rest because you can really burn yourself out constantly going and constantly trying to advocate for people. Sometimes you really just have to advocate for yourself and just take some that time to self-care, And so just have an intentional schedule with goals, and have a plan to reach those goals weekly, monthly, daily. And I think that's just the best way to approach it.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Like having to take care of yourself and keep your life in order to care for other people.
Right.
So, when things get hard, or maybe you are slugged down with school, or, you like are working on personal issues, like what keeps you motivated, to continue to do your activism?
Yeah, that's a good question. The biggest thing for me is my engagement with different people in the community. And so for me, I love talking to different people and I love seeing different people's perspectives. And sometimes after a while, when you do that, you start to see that there's other people who has problems other than you, right?
Sure.
Sometimes you do have to be selfish, like we're saying, to do that self-care, but you have to also understand that there are so many other people going through things that are so much worse. And so when you look at that from perspective, you can always be motivated, right? Because it can always be worse and there's always so much more you can do. And so from that perspective, really the community just motivates me every single day because I see there's so much needs to be done. There's so many people who need help. And I'm in a lucky position where I feel like I can help people. And so really it's just people, talking to people, engaging with them because they'll always tell you the truth.
Yeah, it sounds like you draw a lot from collaboration, which I think is, like good to know, like
Yeah.
moving forward with like how you do engage with these things. So, when it does come to collaboration and it comes to dealing with other people, what happens when you come across someone who doesn't agree with you? And you do have those varied perspectives. Like how do you have and how do you recommend young people, like take on those difficult conversations with people in their lives?
Yeah, so the first thing really is to just recognize that not everybody's going to agree with you, and that's okay, right? That's a healthy part of life, and just you have to understand that, which is hard to understand because sometimes you want everybody to agree with you,
Sure.
But that's the first step right there. The next step is, if somebody does disagree with you, you have to really think about and really make a decision: is this a battle that I want to have, right? Do I want to debate? Do I want to put my time and energy in debating or challenging this person's perspective? When you do get to that point, when you do say I do want to challenge their perspective, you have to understand, all right, I have to set all my assumptions that I had about this person set aside and be open-minded. Because we come at that argument with assumptions, right? You're going to be assuming things that person was saying and doing and assuming their emotions. And maybe that really wasn't their intent, And so coming there with open mind is very important. Definitely the next thing would be to set guidelines. These like discussions are always best when you have objectives, have a clear outcome of what you want to get, and also understanding what your outcome is, right? Is my or what's my my goal, right? Is my goal to challenge you and educate you, or is my goal to challenge you and diminish you? And so that's two very different things when you come to a conversation that you think you have to really, right, look at yourself, understand, why am I going into this conversation? What am I expecting to get out of it? And so when you come from that perspective and you want to educate, right, that's a more productive conversation. And so when you go from there, you can set your guidelines, you accept objectives, what I want to accomplish, how I'm going to hear this person out. But then, just make sure you're coming to the situation, the conversation. If you are telling people different facts and things like that, and you make sure you're telling them, you're not telling them in a condescending way, because that can turn people off as well. So just be open-minded, be objective, and make sure like you have intentions, you have good intentions for the conversation. And I think that's what leads to productive change. And then also understand that when you leave the conversation, the person still might not change their mind, and that's okay as well. Just know like that doesn't diminish you and that doesn't diminish the other person. You guys just disagree.
You just disagree. Yeah. So I was wondering about that, like if, you do disagree with someone, do you ever feel like, disappointed, or like this work is really hard? And, how do you deal with that? How do you handle that?
Yeah. So this I guess this line of work is very, I guess, emotionally draining, because you're always dealing with other people's emotions, especially your emotions, my emotions, because I'm a very passionate person. And so when I engage in activism, it comes from a place of passion. And so a lot of times when things don't work out your way, it's like your passion sometimes can kind of diminish a little bit.
Sure.
But then sometimes you have to also look at yourself and just know that like things aren't always going to go your way, right? There's going to be humps, there's going to be ebbs and flows, but it's important that you just continue to fight. And that's really the biggest thing. And just because something doesn't go away doesn't mean that your fight wasn't valid, right? Doesn't mean your fight still doesn't need to continue. And so just knowing that no matter what happens, you're just going to keep going. I think that's something that helps me continue to go.
Yeah.
So,
just like try to stay positive.
yeah, you got to. So.
Nice. And then I guess the last thing I kind of wanted to ask, like this is a book club or like a media club,
Okay.
we're like using, we're trying to explore these issues, like through media. And I wanted to, so March is this time around. Do you have anything like other works, like documentaries or podcasts or, anything at all that has inspired you or that you would recommend that we look into in the future?
Yeah, I do. So a book that I just recently read was How to Be Anti-Racist, and it's by Dr. Ibram X. Kendi, a fellow
Sure.
Temple grad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so go Owls. But the book is great. It's honestly a book that really opened my eyes. A lot of activism books that I've read kind of have very similar storylines and kind of similar objectives. This was the first book that was very different to me. And so the basis of the book is basically it's not good enough to be not racist. You have to be anti-racist. And so it basically discusses how, as anti-racist, you have to actively be participating and advocating for anti-racist policies, anti-racist culture, anti-racist acts, and things like that. And so I think it was a very different perspective on how to look at racism and how to fight it. And so I think it was very great. And that's really one of the biggest books that I had. The next one was The New Jim Crow, which talks about how the different how Jim Crow laws how we have the new Jim Crow laws of the, I guess, new era. And I think it was very important because it talks about the school to prison pipeline, incarceration rates for different groups and different disenfranchised communities. And I think it was just great to see how many things we can relate to from back in the actual Jim Crow era to now. And you can see a lot of parallels between the two eras. And so I think it's great. But I think overall as a whole, I think, activism books are great. But I think another thing is great is educating yourselves and talking to other communities and groups, because that also ignites activism, in my opinion. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I know that the book by Dr. Kendi, the How to Be an Anti-Racist, he collaborated with Jason Reynolds for like a young adult version of that book. So that's pretty cool. Kind of accessible in like two different ways. But yeah, thank you so much for all of your insight on all of this. And I really appreciate you taking the time out. Yeah, and for anyone watching, our Social Justice Book Club is going to be on September 15th at 6 p.m. And yeah, we hope to see you there. We can talk about this a little bit further. But Kevin, thank you so much. Did you have any other thoughts that you wanted to share?
Well, first of all, just thank you guys for having me. It's been great. I'm really excited. Calvert Library I've been going to since I was a little kid. So, it's great to see everything come full circle. And I can help you guys in any way that I can. So, the last thing I kind of will leave off with is just, if you guys or anybody is consider going into activism, just know that there's nothing too little that helps, or nothing too big that you can't do, So attack everything with that, mindset, and just know that if you do want something to change, right, and you see something, that's what John Lewis said, if you see something wrong, you're morally obligated to stand up and do something. So from that perspective, if you go with that, if you live with that every day, you'll know that there's a fight to fight every single day of your life, And so I'll leave with that.
All right, that's amazing. We really appreciate all those tips. It's so good to hear from someone from our community who knows our situation and really help us. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been great. So I'm excited for the book club.
Yeah, it'll be great. All right, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.